Hello everyone. In this lesson, we will learn about variables. In MySQL, variables can be classified into system variables, session variables, and local variables based on their scope. System variables, also known as global variables, refer to the variables defined internally within MySQL that are effective for all MySQL clients. By default, system variables are set during server startup using command line options or configuration files. The syntax for viewing all system variables is as shown on the screen. Show global vertical line. Session variables, like pattern vertical line, where expression global exhibited the values of global system variables. If a variable does not have a global value, no value is shown. Session, the default modifier, which can be replaced by local or omitted. It is used to exhibit the effective system variable values for the current connection. If a variable does not have a session value, the global variable value is shown. When show variables is used without any conditions, it retrieves all valid system variables for the current connection. First, let's view the values of system variables with names starting with auto__ incorporation. We use the command show variables with like followed by auto__ incorporation %. The percentage sign % represents matching any number of characters 0 or more. Let's execute this statement, and you will see that there are two system variables starting with auto__ incorporation, and both have a value of 1. Next, we will modify the value of a system variable. There are two ways to modify a system variable: local modification and global modification. Let's start with local modification. In client 1, we will set the value of the system variable to 2, using the command set auto__ increment equals 2. Then, in client 2, we will check the modified value, using the command show variables. You will notice that the value remains unchanged in client 2, while it has been modified to 2 in client 1. This demonstrates that local modification only affects the current connection and does not impact other connections. In client 1, we can check the value of the system variable and see that it has been modified to 2. However, in client 2, the value remains the original value of 1 and does not change. This is an example of local modification of system variables. Now let's move on to global modification. We will execute the command set global auto__ increment equals 2 to globally modify the value. In this connection, we execute the statement for global modification. Now let's execute it. The execution is successful. We made the modification in this client. After the modification, let's check if it is effective in the current connection. In this client, using the global modification method, we modified the value of the system variable auto__ increment to 2. In the current connection, we use the command show variables like to check the value of this system variable .it is not modified to 2, but remains 1. Therefore, global modifications only take effect in new connections. Now let's open another client. In this newly opened client, let's run the command to check the value of the auto__ increment system variable and see if it is 1 or 2. You will notice that in the new connection, the value of this variable is the modified value, but in the currently connected client, the globally modified variable value is invalid. In the existing client, The global modification does not take effect. However, it is permanently effective for new client connections. Session variables, also known as user variables, are user-defined variables that are bound to the current MySQL client and only take effect for the current user's session. Session variables are defined using the @ followed by the variable name, and a value must be assigned to the variable when defining it. There are 3 ways to assign a value to a session variable using the set statement. Using the assignment operator equals in a select statement, or using the select into statement. Now let's give examples to illustrate session variables and their assignment methods. There are 3 ways to assign values to session variables. The first method is using the set command to assign a value to the sex variable. Let's assign it the value male and execute the command. Press enter to run. The second method is using the assignment operator in a select statement. First, we select the current database, which is student info in this case. Then we execute a select statement, where we assign the values of the grade field from the first 2 records in the SC table to the grade variable. There should be 2 sets of values for the 2 records. Right? How is it stored in a variable? Let's demonstrate it now by running this command. You can see the grade field values of the first 2 records in the SC table are 61 and 72. So, which value is ultimately stored? Let's take a look. It is storing the value 72, which is the grade field value of the last record. The third method is using the select into statement. Let's analyze it. It assigns the student number SNO of the first record in the SC table to the SNO variable, the course number CNO field value to the CNO variable, and the grade field value to the grades variable. Let's run it. It executed successfully. Now, we want to directly query the values of session variables using the select statement. We will output the values of all the session variables used. Let's run it. You can see that the value of the sex variable is male. So that's what we output. The grade variable should have the value of 72, which is the grade field value of the second record. Then we have the SNO student number of the first record, followed by the course number and grade field values, which are stored in the respective variables. This is how session variables work. The scope of local variables is limited to the compound statement syntax between the begin and end statements. It ensures that local variables cannot be accessed or modified outside of the begin and end statements. This makes it convenient to store data for manipulation in MySQL functions and stored procedures. The specific syntax format is as follows: declare variable underline name 1, variable underline name 2, data underline type default default underline value. The name and data type of the local variable are required parameters. When defining multiple local variables simultaneously, they must all share the same data type. The default keyword is used to set the default value of the variable. If omitted, the initial value of the variable is null. Now let's demonstrate local variables. These variables are defined within a function. Let's examine the syntax for creating a function. Create function func1. This function has a return value of integer type. Now let's take a look at the function body. Inside the function body, we have a simple statement that defines a local variable named grade of integer type with a default value of 100. We then return the value of this local variable, grade. Let's execute the statement to create the function. It executes successfully. Next, we can retrieve the value of the local variable, using a select statement to call the function. Since the function has a return value, it returns the value of the grade local variable defined within the function. Since we didn't assign any specific value to it, the default value of 100 is returned to the outer environment. When we call the function func1, the output value will be 100. Now, can we directly access the local variable grade defined within the function from the outer environment? Let's try it out. As we can see, it results in an error. Why? Because the scope of the local variable grade is limited to the function body. It cannot be accessed from outside. However, we can obtain the value of this variable by using the return value of the function. Multiple choice questions. Select one answer choice. Fill in the blanks questions. True or false questions. Program fill in the blanks questions. Above, we have provided examples to illustrate the usage of system variables, session variables, and local variables. We hope that everyone has gained a good understanding and mastery of these concepts. Thank you all.